here. Okay, so a few months ago, or maybe it was last year, I did a video on the most disturbing book I had ever read. It was the Devil All the Time book. I've done 100 videos on this book because I love it so much. I will link that video down below if you guys are interested. You can watch that. But I was thinking the other day that sometimes there are just those books that you read and you cannot stop thinking about. They're just on your mind days afterwards and you're like, that was so up. I thought I would bring back that title, and just anytime I found a book that really bothered me or upset me in some way or I just couldn't stop thinking of, that I would make another video with that same title. So that is why this one is a part 2. It's not the same book, I'm talking about something completely different, but I just can't stop thinking about this book, so let's talk about it. Wow. What is there to say? So first let me introduce the book. So this is Joyce Carol Oates' Zombie. Now, I've talked about Joyce Carol Oates on this channel before. I read a lot of her work when I was in college, and in fact, I think I've told you in another video that my short story, The Python King, was heavily based on Joyce Carol Oates' Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? Not the plot by any means, but just the ambiguity surrounding it. You can listen to that story. My stories are always linked down below. So I'm familiar with this writer. I've read a lot of her work. A lot of her work is in the literary canon. And I was surprised to find that there were some Joyce Carol Oates novels in the horror/thriller section at my local bookstore. And so when I found this one, I was like, oh, it's a book about zombies. I didn't know she wrote just horror. Okay, cool, I'll give it a try. Oh man, this book is so much more. So let me just kind of explain why this book sticks out to me, why it's so messed up, because I don't want you to get the impression that it's the scariest or most gory book that's ever been written. That's definitely not true, but it is very messed up, but in kind of a different way. So just stick with me, and by the end of the video, decide if you want to read this book or not, or let me know if you guys have read this. So let's kind of start from the beginning. It is about a kid named Quentin. A man, he's in his 30s. It's very strange. There are no names in the book. Well, there are a few names in the book, and we'll get to that in a second, but what he introduces himself as is Q_P_. And that's how he talks about his father, R_P_, about his doctor, Dr. E_ or whatever his initial is. And then he talks about his mom as mom. But there are some people that do have names. And there are people that have names that he creates names for them. It's so strange. Okay, we're gonna come back to that in a second and analyze maybe why that is. But first, it's written with, Joyce Carol Oates built a window. She took grammar and syntax and she tossed that bitch out. This book is written like a journal of a serial killer's or like a very fucked up manifesto. That is how this book is written. There's punctuation and lowercase all mixed up. It's not cohesive like a normal novel would be, which makes it even more interesting to read. Yeah, so it honestly feels like you're reading a serial killer's journal, and it kind of feels like you shouldn't be reading it. You also get these, I won't show you that one, but you also get these little doodles every once in a while. It really is, it's like somebody's personal stuff. I guess I should tell you kind of the synopsis of what it's about before I describe any further. So it's about this boy named Quentin. He's very disturbed. First, you find out that he has been recently released from jail and you don't know why. However, you do find out later, and it is disturbing. But then along with that, you also find, well, first of all, he's gay, and he's been kind of made to feel embarrassed by his sexuality, I think through the interactions with his father as a young child. It's just so crazy, the things that are passively mentioned in the novel, but that you can really analyze in there. This book is nuts. Anyways, so he feels not embarrassed by his homosexuality, but definitely I would say that he probably feels like it should be repressed because of the way that his dad treated him when finding out. He also has like no ability to empathize with people. He really doesn't see people as people. He is just such an interesting character. And so his plan throughout the book is to lobotomize people to turn them into his zombies, or really his like sex slaves. That's kind of, he wants like a boyfriend, but he doesn't want the human interaction. That's kind of the whole synopsis of the story. So now let's get back to the way that it's told. So it's told from the perspective of this deranged person, and you don't get anybody else's perspective. However, you do see his interactions, obviously with other people, but through his eyes, But even through his eyes, he can tell he's making people uncomfortable. He can tell that the things he's saying are weirding them out, though maybe he doesn't understand why. But the creepy thing about reading this is, like, we've all run into people like this. Like, we've run into people that were in a public place and they say or do something a little weird and you take a step back. That is this entire book. It's crazy because you're like, I have run into people like this. Very interesting, very disturbing. You do find out his crimes on pages 30, 40-ish. And like I said, it's very disturbing. He has no empathy for his crimes at all. And it's really interesting because when he finds a zombie, a person to make into a zombie, he says there's this one person in particular that he says he loves and like idolizes and worships and stalks. But then once, I don't want to give too much away, but it's not love. It's infatuation in such a weird, distorted, disturbing way. I can't even imagine how Joyce Carol Oates wrote this. I love this novel. It's so good. I think it was written so well. You really do just get a look at the inside of someone's mind. So let's kind of talk just a little bit about specific things. First, I want to say that if you are sensitive to, it's not necessarily a explicit novel. It's not extremely violent. It's not like an American Psycho, but it is definitely disturbing. So if you are sensitive to things like sexual assault or racism, there's a little bit of racism there, maybe avoid this one because it is pretty intense in that sense. I also wanted to talk a little bit about this. Okay, so I don't like books or films that perpetuate that stereotype that people with mental illness are dangerous. I think it's a cop-out. I think it's silly and like, come on, just move on. And there are books that definitely exploit that misconception. So I guess you could maybe make an argument that this book might play a role in that because he is in therapy and on medication and there have been terms thrown at him. However, I would also say that there's an argument against it because he kind of talks about himself in the third person as well as in the first person. So it kind of seems like, okay, yes, you can say that he has maybe some sort of identity disorder, but I also think you could make an argument that it's his alter ego. And I think that it's interesting that there's never a diagnosis put to him, that people throw out terms, but nothing really sticks. And regardless of whether he's on medication or not, he still thinks the same way. He still does horrible things. And so I just wanted to put that out there in case you read it and feel like it does perpetuate that stereotype. I think that there's an argument against that as well. But again, if that's something that you're sensitive to and you don't even want to go there, then maybe this book isn't for you. I just wanted to touch on that topic. And then another thing that I want to talk about is why he doesn't name people. So what's interesting is he only calls himself QP, Q_P_, but then other people call him Quentin. So you know his name is Quentin. You know the name of his sister and the name of his friend who passed away, which, by the way, very vague statement on why his friend passed away and like, was he responsible for that? Who knows? There's so much to this book. I feel like every time I read it, I'm gonna absorb a little bit more of this character, and I don't even know if I want to because it's just so weird. Anyways, so we get his sister's name and his late friend's name. So at first I thought, okay, maybe we only get the name of people that he feels somewhat connected to a little bit, but then we also get the name of his orthodontist, but we get the name of his orthodontist or his dentist or whatever through his mom. So maybe that's why that name is used, and maybe it's only the people who he feels are people that deserve names. I don't know. I really don't know. The relationship and interaction between him and his father specifically is quite interesting. He is just so twisted. The things that you read are so twisted, and like I said, it's like you're reading someone's private journal, so it almost feels like you're getting a peek into someone's mind that you shouldn't be peeking at. I don't really know what else to say other than this book really blew me away. I was not expecting this. I was not expecting to continually think about this. I mean, I have sat my husband down and been like, no, you have to hear about Quentin. You have to hear about what he wrote here. It's just really been all-encompassing in my brain for the past while. So I thought I would make a video about it because you guys love horror stuff as much as I do. And so I really highly recommend this book, given that you aren't super sensitive to certain things, because it is very disturbing. But there's a lot to analyze here. I think that this book is so underrated, and I don't know how. I have gone this many years without reading it because I loved this book. This at the bottom, it just says, perhaps her most chilling novel, a horrifying, revelatory work of fiction. And it really is. So now I pass the question off to you. One, have you guys read this? Will you pick this up? And then also my last question for you is, what is the most disturbing book you have ever read? Leave it down below. And then any other book that I read that really disturbs me or just sticks with me, I think I'll make a video like this because this was just so fun and I highly recommend. If you want to analyze a little bit, you want to like feel like you're reading a serial killer's journal, dive into this guy. That is the video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and I hope that you guys maybe have another book to add to your reading list. I will see you Tuesdays and Thursdays with more horror. Bye guys.